Admittedly, this video is for a very niche, selected group of people about a topic that probably holds little interest to those outside of the bubble. I'm assuming most people watching this know what Amino is, so if you're one of the few that don't, I suggest watching mine or any of the other Amino-related videos on YouTube. As for this video, I want to specifically talk about a community I was a part of there, the Nintendo Switch Amino, a community dedicated to those interested in Nintendo's latest console. If you don't know what that is either, well, just enjoy my rambling then. I've wanted to make a YouTube video talking about NSA since I started creating more edited content on this channel. I imagine most people have something that they think about and reflect on the good times. For me, that's this online community. In the most dramatic way of saying this, the Nintendo Switch Amino changed a lot in my life. And it's simply something I can't forget about. Even after all those multiple final send-offs I gave the place, I'm always left reminiscing about the past, unsatisfied by it. I knew at some point I wanted to make a video talking about the community, but rewriting this script multiple times without any indication of what I should cover wasn't easy. To fully understand what it is I wanted this video to showcase, I had to ask myself a lot of questions, most of which just circled back around to me rethinking the entire project from scratch. Am I the only one interested in this? What do I even talk about? Will it be interesting? I had a lot on my mind for this project, but there was one very important thing I had to ask myself. Why give NSA a video at all? To me, the Nintendo Switch Amino is what I would consider to be a big chunk of my life as a teenager. I spent hours on this platform. The countless nights of me staying up till 3 a.m. writing blogs instead of sleeping will always be a fun memory of mine. The wide range of, albeit very unfunny, chat messages I have saved in my phone gallery to look back on, and of course, blackmail my friends, and the fact that I helped moderate the community for over 4 years, being one of the oldest staff members right next to Alien. It's a big portion of my life that I can't forget about. Because of this community, I will always see this abbreviation as Nintendo Switch Amino, and not the other one. So when I had to ask myself, why should I give this random Amino community its own YouTube video? I just didn't have a real answer. I'm simply looking at the past and want to talk about it. So hopefully by the end, I'll have an answer to my question and make this my final goodbye to NSA. I guess it's best to start with how NSA started and how it ended. The date is October 20th, 2016. Nintendo had just unveiled their newest system, the Nintendo Switch. Later that same day, over on Amino, multiple people had already created their own communities dedicated to the future console. One such person, known as Poplio Lover Peter, had created their own Amino for it, that same Amino ending up being the most successful compared to the others. Obviously, you know at this point, that's the same Amino we've been talking about. Unless, of course, we're talking about the new Nintendo Switch Amino, in which they coincidentally use our old cover image. But we're getting ahead of ourselves. That doesn't come up until later. I would say around 2017 to 2018 could be considered the best time for NSA. There were always active members online, a lot of blogs and events being produced. It felt like a real, bustling community. Thankfully, the younger me was smart enough to record footage of that time and make a video out of it. Even though the quality of the video is really bad and showcases almost nothing of old NSA, it gets the job done. Back then, it would have around 60 members online at all times, and then never again. From that point forward, the activity of NSA dwindled despite the staff's best efforts. Less people were writing blogs and participating in events, and most of our really active members left eventually. So around 2019 to 2020, it seemed like the community was on its last legs. Even during the pandemic, where everyone was using the internet, our numbers weren't boosted a lot. At some point, it seemed like even us on staff were ready to abandon ship, or move on to the next best thing. So in November of that same year, we chose to try and move what remained of NSA to a Discord server. From that point forward, I wouldn't really say anything notable happened that is worth mentioning. The Nintendo Switch Amino had officially died. So with that all said and done, there isn't much else to add onto this history segment. Or at least I didn't think there would be until... June 29th, 2022. One of the current leaders on NSA, Lunaire, told me and a group of friends that NSA will be deleted in a week. Being very confused, I rushed to re-download the app and see why the sudden decision to delete the community was made. To sum it up, the reason is basically just because Amino as a whole is dying. From the constant bot raids, forcing communities to lock their doors, and the most recent thing being these advertised live streams on communities. The streams themselves could not be turned off by staff members and were just used to advertise borderline sexual content. That was kind of the last straw for NSA as a whole. I didn't like the idea of it being completely deleted forever, since that would mean saying goodbye to 5+ years of my life, but the decision had already been made, so I saw no reason to fight against it. With 1 week set as the deadline for the Amino's deletion, everyone who was a part of its history came together to enjoy the last moments, creating blogs and giving their final goodbyes before it's gone for good. It was very sweet reading each one of what everyone had to say about the place. The days passed, and eventually July 7th rolled around. A day longer than expected, but still. NSA was deleted. I lied. Team Amino gave one final fuck you to the Amino and wouldn't allow the deletion. So instead, the remaining staff chose to keep the Amino open, but limit everything. It's just an archive now. That is the full history, albeit very streamlined. I probably didn't need to talk about all of that, but there's no harm in a little history lesson. So I hope you kept notes. This will be on the test later. It wouldn't be a retrospective if I didn't share my thoughts. I joined NSA within a week of its creation, and most likely being a part of the first 100 members there, so watching it grow from just 100 to 100,000 was a thrilling journey. In the 5-ish years I was actively using NSA, I managed to create 1,000 blogs, and get to the top of the Hall of Fame. Those are definitely my best achievements from the community. To me, NSA was a place for me to be myself, talk about my interests freely, and just write about whatever interests me. Granted, I don't think most people read my blogs, but I see that as a good thing since I never once proofread them. The amount of spelling mistakes in a single blog would be like hieroglyphics. Creating content on the Amino was just my little hobby. It was also a place I could easily find friends to play with. Growing up, most of my friends didn't have Nintendo consoles, or at least didn't have the same games I did, so very rarely did I get to play games with people. But NSA changed all of that. I still vividly remember the night of playing Splatoon 2 with friends, being in chat or on VC, just having a blast in private battles, or the days of dominating everyone in Smash Bros. Because I have spent an ungodly amount of time getting good at that game. To me, making friends on Amino was the most important part of NSA. After all, it is still social media. That's kind of its purpose. So I think it's only right if I had other people than just myself speak about the community. Alright, enough about Max. Let's talk about me. I'm Glorious Cashew.
Hi, Cashew.
I'm an NSA member. At least, I was. I joined the community, and Amino in general, in August of 2017, but it wasn't until January of 2018 when I started blogging regularly. My first featured blog was My Hopes for Nintendo Labo, coming right off the heels of its first trailer. Later on, I would make other blogs in the same style about games like Captain Toad and Fire Emblem. At this point, I was hooked. Soon I was pumping out blogs constantly, with only a few multi-month-long breaks in between. Eventually, despite my initial shyness, I would start getting involved in groups and events. I met Captain Awesome 2000 in a group dedicated to Smash Ultimate, and he became my first friend on Amino. I went on to make many other friends on Amino too, like Day and Revy, who I formed Day Gang with. It was a really stupid group chat that eventually became its own Amino. Honestly, it's a whole story that could probably get its own video. I talked to them constantly. I had just moved to a new state and started at a new school, so for a while my Amino friends were my only friends, and I don't know what I would have done without them. I still talk to a few of them over Discord too. I've even gotten to know some much better than before, like Kerbo and Max. I'd never say my time on NSA was wasted. In fact, I thoroughly enjoyed it. It was a great outlet for me to express my creativity, and although I'm still looking for a suitable alternative, it was definitely time to let it go.
Before I start, I just want to thank Max for letting me be a part of this. Go subscribe to him so you never miss an upload. The Nintendo Switch Amino. I haven't heard that name in a while. It was one of the first Aminos I joined back in 2017. At the time I was a pretty cringy person, so I'm still shocked people interacted with my posts showing off my Nintendo Switch setup or asking people to play Mario Kart with me. But that all changed one day when I decided to start a series called Nintendo Switch News. While the first post didn't gain much traction, my sequel post was featured on the front page of NSA and it garnered 88 likes, which was big in my opinion. Ever since that, people knew my name, and while I made more Nintendo Switch News posts, I was still that cringy teenager who had bad people skills. However, I decided to take a 6-month hiatus in December of 2018, and I didn't return to NSA until June of 2019, talking about what I wanted at Animal Crossing New Horizons. I was just watching a YouTube video of this guy that was showcasing all the holidays in the Animal Crossing series, and that inspired me to re-download Amino and make a post. I was back and better than ever. I started a series called Levelhead Nerd Asks, where I asked a bunch of my friends questions about a certain Nintendo series. I was shocked at how popular the series got, which inspired me to keep making content. As the years went on, I joined a writing club called NSA Creators and kept pumping out content. I loved every bit of it, and it's crazy to me that making those posts way back then showed me a love for journalism. And now I'm going to major in communications so I can have a career as a journalist. It's just crazy to think that a cringy teenager made friends on that platform too, but I've made some incredible friends through the years because of NSA. In fact, I met my best friend on there. My friends have always shown so much love for what content I create, from NSA posts to YouTube videos. They were, and still are, really the only people I can talk about my passions for gaming and writing with without getting anxious like I would in real life. I know this is pretty cliche, but without them, I wouldn't be where I am today. Overall, NSA showed me so much love. While YouTube may be my new platform for my video game reviews and all that, NSA was the foundation. I can't even imagine what I would be doing today if I hadn't stumbled across Amino back in 2017. I can't imagine I'd want to be a journalist. NSA is where I had my big break, and if that little cringy teenager could see me now, I think she'd be proud. So, NSA, thank you. Thank you for introducing me to so many wonderful people. Thank you for letting me discover a passion for writing. Thank you for supporting me through all the tough times in my life. And thank you for everything.
NSA was honestly such a cool community, just a place where Switch fans could all come together and express their thoughts and passions around the system. There was a lot of general Nintendo stuff too, which was a nice bonus. The app itself was kinda weird. It was like a mashup of features from other social medias, but that kinda made it unique in a way. I joined in November of 2018 after getting a Switch, but then I actually ended up deleting the app after like 2 days. I re-downloaded when I got the Pokemon Let's Go games though, and ended up staying until July 2022 when we closed down the community. I had a lot of fun there, and met a lot of cool people, some of whom I still talk to today. I loved writing blogs, making edits and profile pictures for myself and others, hosting and participating in events, and just chatting with people for hours. I also ended up joining the staff team in 2019 as a curator, and was promoted to leader a year or two later. Being on the staff team was a blast a lot of the time, but came with a lot of unique challenges. Super glad I joined the team though. I met some of my closest online friends there and had some great experiences. The decline was seriously a bummer, but understandable. I think Amino as a whole had just become less popular, and the Switch wasn't really the hot new system anymore. Add on the constant problems with mod tools, the app just being broken and buggy a lot of the time, more problematic people joining more often, and Team Amino constantly making things worse, and it was kinda just unavoidable. Plus, it being bought by another company really screwed things up, which was really the main reason we decided to fully shut it down, for safety reasons. As sad as it was to have to shut down, it made sense. The community had pretty well died out at that point, and everyone had grown up and started spending more time on other things. It was kind of funny trying to shut it down though, because Team Amino just wouldn't allow us to, which is how agent status got transferred to me. It still exists, but is locked down now as an archive. Even with the downsides of NSA, I wouldn't change anything if I could go back. I made some awesome friends and memories there, and so much happened in my life throughout the 3.5 years I was there. I got back into gaming, started my first job, moved into my first 2 residences, and got engaged. So those years will always have a special place in my heart and be kinda nostalgic for me. NSA definitely had its ups and downs, but I loved my experience with it overall.
Hey, my name is Jer, and I was a curator on the Nintendo Switch Amino from mid-2017 to mid-2018. I was active for about 7 months prior and a few months after. During this time, I managed to achieve a lot, overhauling our featuring and feedback systems, sparking a change in leadership, founding the basis of what will become the first long-term friend group there, and I experimented and innovated with a lot of the blogging process. Just before I stepped down, I finished off by creating a consistent method for staff transparency. So we would have a bi-weekly thing, and it would share all the updates and stuff we came up with. I gotta say, my time at the Amino was really something. There were so many fun times and good memories, but it also led to a pretty dark time in my life. There's a lot to talk about, more than I really have time to get into here, but I'll try and go in chronological order. In February, my best friend showed me Amino, and I was interested in joining because polls gained a lot of traction there. I ended up joining in February of 2017, against the wishes of my parents who didn't want me on social media that young. There's reason for that, it becomes important later. At the time, I was extremely awkward and didn't have much social experience. To my surprise though, when I joined a group chat, I found it really easy to get along with people anyway, and it gave me a massive confidence boost. Over the next few months, I made lots of friends and drastically improved my social skills. I was active enough there that I started to become somewhat of a public figure on the Amino. I had always wanted to be a curator though, for some reason. Perhaps it was just to feel special, like I was contributing to something. I ended up getting the position, and one of my first assignments was to create a new group chat and invite 10 people. One of those people was Max, and that's how we met and really became friends. From there, my activity skyrocketed, to the points of absolute addiction. To give an idea of how crazy it was, one day I left my phone at school and was literally shaking without being able to talk to people in Amino that evening. From there, things went about as you would expect. Lots of chatting and playing games. Fun times. But I swear, at least once every other week, there would be some massive fight that resulted in a lot of our group disbanding for a day or two. I didn't have much of a support system in real life, though, so I kept things stable and acted as a mediator to fix the problems, and often was the glue holding the friend group together. We made it work for quite a while, but it never really became stable until Max took it over as the de facto leader, and made some changes, mostly by kicking the people that were causing the drama. I vividly remember one day reading some of the terrible parental reviews of Amino, and hearing about the effects of its addictive properties and toxic community on teens. That gave me a new perspective to think about. I went on using it as normal, but now the thought of addiction was very much on my mind. During this period, my life outside the internet started falling apart, and I started becoming more unreasonable and irritable. There was even a brief Joker moment I had where I started trolling relentlessly and ended up temporarily disabled while on hiatus from my curator duties. That strike, combined with my addiction, really taught me a lesson though, and my mental health issues began to become focused elsewhere. I ended up so stressed that I stepped down from my position and severely reduced my activity, finally curbing the addiction. I actually tried applying for curator again, but thankfully, in retrospect, the staff team told me it was a bad idea due to my deteriorating mental health, and I didn't get accepted. All that said, blogging was super fun at least. I was always trying new things and doing things with posts that other people weren't. This meant I made a lot of garbage experiments that didn't work, but I also made some stuff I'm seriously proud of, like my hybrid Musinks review that combined video review segments and traditional written content, or my review system that used the game's own scoring system as the review score. I was even among the first to discover how to make proper image transparency effects work in posts that didn't have a solid colored background. Even with all the toxic aspects of the app taken into account, I'd still say that I don't regret joining and staying with the Amino. It's really what gave me all my street smarts today, and was the only way I managed to stay sane throughout the early part of high school. Hell, I even still talk to a lot of people from Amino to this day, and some of them I consider as part of a found family. So yeah, I'd definitely say it's worth it.
Thanks to those four for being a part of this, and to everyone else who had been on NSA during its lifetime. Thanks for being there. Everyone else who used Amino and didn't join, that's okay. We all make bad decisions sometimes. I've said it plenty of times already, but NSA really did mean a lot to me. I met so many kinds of people across the years, all around the world, plenty of which I don't really talk to anymore, but I've got my group now, so that's all I need. I remember back in NSA, just a couple of years into its life, we had tried to keep an updated history of the Amino. 2 notable times, or at least 2 times that I could find. One being on NSA's anniversary, sharing the dates of when certain things happened. The other I found through an unfinished project where we wanted to make a novel of the Amino, having different people from different eras of NSA contributing to it, trying to create a full timeline from the very start to present day. It's really cool going back onto the Amino and digging through old group chats and blogs, seeing what we were all like back then, what we were doing. Imagine creating a full timeline of NSA. That'd be so much to list. Too much to list. I have spent over 4 months salvaging through NSA to find dates of every notable accomplishment, staff promotions, Amino member counts, and plenty of other noteworthy things. 5+ years worth of NSA history, written down in calendar form for everyone to see. The reason this video has taken me months to create is going back and forth between if I should even do this. But in the end, I wanted to make this video special, so allow me to present it to you in a couple of minutes. I want to specify some things first. I want to make it clear that the calendar is not 100% accurate. I looked through so many different blogs and comments for any kind of date to write down for accomplishments, but sometimes just could not find it. I am just one guy doing this after all, not to mention how limiting Amino itself is sometimes. So just know that everything that will be on screen won't be 100% perfect. Another thing is that I've chosen to color code the important events that happened throughout the years. So here's what each color represents. Green is for staff promotions, red is for staff demotions, yellow is for member count milestones, blue is for NSA newspaper release days, and purple is for other notable things. So basically, there's going to be a lot of purple. Now, with all that out of the way, I think it's time we get to the actual calendar itself. So be ready to pause every 5 seconds, or don't. It's your choice. I should quickly mention all the stuff I wanted to put on the calendar but couldn't find a date for, whether because there was no way for me to find a date, or there originally was but the source has since been deleted. So here's a quick list of all that. Some things I couldn't even find the general year it was announced, or had to rely on memory. Months of research, editing, writing, and animating to create this video, and I think now that everything has been shown, it's safe to say the Nintendo Switch Amino can finally lay to rest. It's kind of crazy to think that about 7 years ago now, I made a decision that altered my future drastically without even knowing it. Downloading the Amino app and joining NSA, making memories upon memories with new friends, and now I get to look back on it all, both the good and the bad. Though I suppose, now that everything's concluded, I tend to ask myself, what if none of it happened? It's an interesting scenario to think about, and definitely one I'll have in the back of my mind for a while. Even then, all I can do now is reminisce. I remember when I first got promoted to the staff team, I wanted to do as much as I could for the Amino, leave my mark there, I suppose. After all these years, I can safely say I did just that. I like to think I did enough for NSA to help it out during its worst moments. As of now, I'm gonna choose to focus more on the future ahead, creating content here on YouTube and making videos about anything that interests me. This video is kind of like my final goodbye to the Amino, to show others who were there how this community impacted me so much and what it meant to me. I know not everyone has the same history I did with the place. Plenty of people had worse experiences. But hopefully, despite that, you enjoyed this video and saw through my eyes what it was like. A special community filled with unique individuals, all there just to talk about video games. So to finally answer the question, why give NSA a video at all? Just so I could simply say, thanks for everything.